So this will be the first year that the video game formerly known as FIFA will be called EA Sports FC. Let's take a look at their recently revealed logo. Oh no! It's terrible! Normally I don't like to bring up new console revision rumors because I think they're inherently less exciting than, like a new video game rumor. There's less to talk about there. However, after this week, we have a few stacked up, so I think we might as well dig in. And I believe the root of all of the hardware rumors we're discussing today is from one person. Tom Henderson of Inside Gaming. He's a relatively reliable gaming insider. He's got sources, clearly. And this week, he reported this big headline. Exclusive: Sony's next PlayStation handheld. Which we will get to, but I'd like to talk about two other things that apparently Inside Gaming scooped as well. A PlayStation 5 Pro potentially coming out next year, and a PlayStation 5 Slim potentially coming out this very year. I would like to look at each of these products and give them each one marketing tip on the house. So first, let's discuss the PlayStation 5 Slim, which is not called the PlayStation 5 Slim anywhere in the article. I'm just calling it that for simplicity's sake. It actually seems like it won't be that slim. So the weird thing about this is that the idea is to make manufacturing easier, to make shipping easier. There will be one PlayStation 5 unit. And then if you want to have disc-based games, you can buy this disc drive that will connect via USB-C and attach to the console in some way. In some way, which we're left to imagine because, again, this is just a rumor. It's just a rumor. But apparently the disc drive will be bundled with some PS5s. Most will probably come without it. And then also you could buy it on its own in case it gets busted. What's interesting about this is that a detachable disc drive has never been a successful product in the history of video games. And I think in this case, it's not meant to be. It's simply there because they know it has to be there. It's a pacifier that they're shoving into our mouths. It's like a begrudging concession. Sure, I know we have to have a disc drive, so here it is. Because here's the deal. Sony is happy for you to buy physical games because they do make money from those, but they do make more money from digital sales, which do not have an aftermarket. You can't sell it afterwards, and you can't even lend it to a friend. It's a preference. Sony would prefer for you to buy a digital-only PlayStation 5. We sniffed this when the PS5 was first revealed.
It is not PS5 or PS5 digital. It is PS5 or PS5 lump.
Now listen to this part of the report. Sources have implied that although the new detachable disc drive is portable, it will not ruin the aesthetics of the console and will attach to it without looking external. There's no way. Whoever is talking to Tom Henderson would like us to believe this, but there is no way that this detachable disc drive just naturally fits in, naturally makes the console look better. It complete, in fact. It looks weird without, there's no possible way. So how do I give a marketing tip for a product that Sony clearly doesn't actually want people to buy? Marketing tip? One little nerdy pair of glasses attached to every detachable disc drive. This actually makes an incredible amount of sense if you're willing to hear me out. Because the people who buy the slim version of the console have the cool version. They'll look at the one with the nerdy glasses and they'll think, okay, I got the cool version. Meanwhile, the people who are buying the extra add-on disc drive with the nerdy glasses, they know who they are. They're spending $100 extra just to be able to put discs in their machine. They will embrace the glasses. You're making both audiences of different sizes the most happy they could possibly be. Next up is the rumor of the inevitable PlayStation 5 Pro. A weird thing that we have to do constantly as adults is determine what types of things we deserve to have. Like, what type of apartment do I deserve to have? What kind of car do I deserve to have? how nice of a flight do I deserve to have? You know, if you want to go to a concert or like a sporting event, you look at a map of the arena and you have to click on the square that correlates to your own self-worth. And this stuff is natural in video games now too. You know, you're buying a Switch, you're like, do I deserve a regular Switch or do I deserve a Switch OLED? Am I an Xbox Series S person, or maybe I am deserved of an Xbox Series X? Which PlayStation Plus tier do I deserve? But this stuff doesn't typically stress me out in that I don't mind being a medium person most of the time. You know, I kind of like it. Like, when you get your oil changed and they ask you, what kind of oil do you want? I just say, what's medium? Give me the medium one. If we look back at this chart, right? And I'm looking at those things in the tiers that I don't have. I'm not angry about it. I'm not jealous of the people who have those things. In fact, I feel frugal for accepting that I belong in the essential tier. To me, this is like the 3 buttons at the gas station. I have never in my life pressed either of the other 2 buttons that give you more expensive, nicer gas. And I feel great about that. Think of the savings. So in the same way, in 2024, when people are presented with the option of spending more money for a console that gives them marginally better graphics or frame rates or ray tracing, I'm thinking it's not really going to cause much harm. So here's my marketing tip. Do exactly what you did with the PS4 Pro. Give Mark Cerny a stage. Let him talk for as long as he wants about the benefits and architecture of the PlayStation 5, because that sort of thing draws only the audience who is interested in it and nobody else. That's perfect. And then when a commercial comes on, just show both those consoles. There they are. They're both options. This thing isn't groundbreaking. It's not necessary. It is just another button on the gas pump. And finally, the wildest rumor, the one I actually would never have predicted, the handheld device, codename Q Lite. Just to be clear, straight out, it is not a successor to the PlayStation Vita. It is not a competitor to the Switch. It is not even a competitor to the Steam Deck. Because, according to Tom Henderson's report, this device requires a PlayStation 5 to operate and a constant internet connection. So if the reporting is true, if this rumor is correct, the Q Lite is designed only to stream the PlayStation 5 games you already own to its 8-inch screen. Which is, yes, in comparison to all other gaming handhelds, quite limited in its utility. What's funny is this article mentions that Sony has been pushing the remote play feature for these past couple of weeks, they say, and links to this video from the official PlayStation YouTube channel. And this video is wild. They're trying so hard to market this feature, but like, what are these people doing? Your TV is right there. It's not even on. So this is just one product doing the exact same thing that you just watched in that video already. Presumably just nicer. But also, I don't want to say it's a worthless product, because I think that people have different modes of playing games. You know, the living room vibes are different when you're playing The Last of Us than when you're playing Joe Wander and the Enigmatic Adventures. I think of the distinction like high focus games and low focus games. High focus games demand your attention and your energy, and that's typically like what the big Sony first party games are like, you know? I can't look away. And for low focus games, they're games that don't require your complete attention to enjoy. Think of like mobile games. Think of like Solitaire. You can play Solitaire and watch TV, and it's not going to impair your enjoyment of either of those things. And where I'm going with this is Sony's explicit plans to dive deeper into games as a service, which is how they justified buying Bungie, right? They want to make more games as a service games. And forgive me for being rude here. I don't mean all games as a service games are low focus, but I do think a lot of them are about, you know, just taking your regular dip. Just your familiar check-in on your favorite service. And so I think this device, it's not ideal for, playing Horizon and defeating a giant robot dinosaur. It's ideal for, logging in your dailies for Warzone or Fortnite or whatever you are into. Marketing tip, this commercial. We have this exhausted postal worker. She's coming home to her husband who's sitting in the living room watching TV, and she says, "Hey, hon, can I get on the TV? I need to get in my Fall Guys dailies." And the husband says, "Baby, I love you, but the Marlins are on." And she says, "That's okay, because I have my Q light." And he says, "Okay." And she says, "Okay." And then we cut to later that night. They're making love in bed. And it's because their relationship is so healthy, because this device exists. That's delayed input for this week. Thanks for watching. So earlier when I brought up the example of solitaire as the most low focus a game could possibly be, it reminded me of this time recently where I was at a Caribou Coffee. Caribou Coffee is a coffee chain based off an animal that I didn't know existed until I beat Metal Gear Solid, where Snake's on a snowmobile and he's like, "Meryl, look, that's a caribou." So I think that's part of my attachment to this coffee house chain. But anyway, as I was leaving, I peeped an iPad. And just to be clear, I'm sort of a peeper by nature. If you tilt your iPad in a general direction in which my eyes could naturally gaze upon it, I'm going to peep. So I'm walking by this guy's iPad, and much to my dismay, he's playing solitaire vertically. Holding his iPad vertically and playing solitaire on the top of the screen. Maybe there's like 3/5 of the screen that's just empty green space. And I think, what an idiot. What are you doing here? I'm watching you play one of the dumbest games of all time, the dumbest possible way. But what I've learned to accept about this afterward, right after I left in disgust, is that we all need stupid time. You know what I mean? We can't all be doing the best possible thing with every possible minute. And there's actually something kind of beautiful about that I was able to witness someone else's stupid time. Like, I bet that person, even in private, wouldn't be doing something that stupid.